And delighted to have John Duggan in studio this morning. John, good morning.
Happy Monday, Shane and Johnny. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, John. I'm absolutely buzzing. Absolutely delighted this Monday morning.
You were off in the west there in your jacuzzis and
Prosecco glasses, and
yeah, you were like I don't know, some type of 70s rock star, like boogie nights.
Living my best life, I have to say, at the weekend. I felt so refreshed, got a massage.
Anybody who was on Instagram took out Shane Hannon living it up in at West.
Yeah,
taking
nice.
over Johnny's world, you know.
Well, it's the sort of event that just happens that kind of solidifies a relationship. Monaghan winning a big game in football.
You'll never forget where you were, you know.
This is it. She'll never forget, you know, what it was like watching it with you, you know, and your entire antics during the game, like just losing your mind, really.
I was just saying this morning, John, I was losing the plot during the match.
So you're looking forward to a 15-point beating the next day? Really?
Oh, the fighting dog has started already.
Yeah.
Well, look, Dublin, I think they're 6-point favourites to the bookies, but it's going to be a tough task for Monaghan in the semi-final.
It'll be nice at half-time.
The most patronising thing ever. You'll have a nice little half time. Have to get your little pint into you, and
you're going to bring like your tea bags and stuff and everything, your flasks,
hang sandwiches.
Yeah.
Well, I presume the ticket allocation will be about 30,000 for Monaghan, which is half the county.
That's amazing. It's amazing what Monaghan have achieved as a county. Like they're so well run administratively. Remember, like Sean McKay, Pork Duffy, great GAA administrators. Owen Lennon was in studio with us in Saturday panel telling us that Pork's still involved, and it's just an incredible, like the Miners are in an All-Ireland final, incredible achievement for, and it's not, I don't think it's patronising to say that, because Armagh have a population of over 200,000.
Yeah. Well, if you stuck the entire population of Monaghan into Croke Park, you'd still have 20,000 empty seats still. Which is mad when you put it like that, you know, it puts it in perspective. Like, we wouldn't fill Croke Park as a county. But yeah, and this phrase, I hate the phrase punching above their weight, because it's thrown at Monaghan consistently every single year. Look at the little Monaghan punching above their weight. But I mean, only Kerry have been in Division 1 longer. They've been in it a decade at this stage. So they just keep achieving things, and I don't know what it is. There's a lot of work being done. Paul O'Connor, someone I should name check as well, with the development squads, like a lot of them on underage setups. I don't even think that the idea is to win Ulster titles at minor or 20s, or even to win All Irelands. That's a bonus, and it's great to be in a minor final this weekend. It's to have as many players as possible.
Situation that they're not in the Croke Park for the minor final. They could have,
I know.
I'm sure they could find some way before some game of playing a minor final. It was the same for the Clare Hurlers at Croke Park. Rather than as much as the Athletic Grounds is a fine venue. Yeah,
look, it'll be a good atmosphere at the Athletic Grounds, but I think the doubleheader with the senior game is probably the way to go. How did you feel generally about the weekend's action, John?
I felt that the 3-week run didn't help the teams that were involved in it.
Yeah.
So Mayo, Tyrone, Cork all lost their second halves. Monaghan were the only team that kind of booked the trend. So I do think that the timing of the season, look, it's always easier for Dublin and Kerry, given they know they're going to win their provinces at the moment. I know Cork are coming back a bit, but they know they're going to win their provinces. And Kerry, just the rhythms of the round robin, it just the learning, I suppose, is that winning your group's really, really important.
Yeah, for sure.
Win the province if you can as well. Like,
it goes to show this.
I think it Mayo definitely suffered. Now, like Connacht's not that easy to win, to be fair, and collateral form would suggest Roscommon aren't bad. But like, as a Galway fan, you are a little bit regretful of the fact that we have serious players, but so much went wrong with injuries this year, and like the game against Mayo was a mess, and we would
need a bit of luck, don't you?
We needed, and we had players that obviously weren't in the panel this year for various reasons, and we've Comer injured for some reason. Shane Walsh has a 5 out of 10 year.
Like Kilmacud's run probably didn't help that.
Kilmacud's run, whatever was in his head, he didn't look mentally there. Some of the wides in the first half in Salt Hill were unforgivable, really, by his standards. Then you've Comer gone off at half time. You've Sean Kelly with one leg. We'd have a lot of regrets, because I don't think we'd have capitulated like that.
No, I honestly think it's easy to say now, but Galway Dublin quarter-final, I can't see how it would have went the way it did. Dublin were still imperious at the weekend, and like I guess, John, from a Dublin perspective, you look at some of these performances, and James McCarthy, Rolls Royce, the usual, and then the bench as well was just, I mean, when you have Rock coming off and Kilkenny and Small, and
what age is Fitzsimons now as well? Like some of these the old Warriors, I mean, it is phenomenal stuff.
34, is he? I could put an extra year. Sorry, Michael, if you're watching, put an extra year on you there. A couple of things. There's so much of a phony war around it, and now we're probably in a situation where it's going to be a Kerry Dublin final again. And Dublin put in their best performance since 2019. Like, the whole 2020 was a strange year because you COVID, you Cavan and Mayo to beat Mayo were flat in that final. 2021, Dublin got caught by Mayo. Last year's semi-final, Dublin didn't turn up in the first half against Kerry. I think that the learnings are that Kerry and Dublin are really, like, those two performances were performances almost of teams that were probably going to be winning the All-Ireland. Derry, I found the Derry Cork game a hard watch.
Interesting but hard, yeah, difficult to enjoy maybe.
I opined on Twitter that I didn't feel that penalties are fair. It's an association football concept that shouldn't really be in Gaelic games, I feel. And
I tend to agree with you,
I disagree. I think penalties, like this whole attitude in Gaelic games that, it's an English thing, it's an association, I think penalties are a skill. If you
they are skilled, but they're skilled. It's a different sport. They're skilled, though, that you're importing.
But there are penalties within the game. Within the 70 minutes, you can be awarded a penalty.
But generally in Gaelic games, you're known for points. If you score a goal, great. But most of the play in Gaelic games is around points.
Would you prefer a 45?
Yeah, I prefer a 45 or a kicking contest of some description. But I do, on a general basis, think that I do think replays are from the quarterfinal stage onwards. I think Armagh
there should be replays.
I think Armagh 3 times now in the championship have lost on penalties. I think that's very unlucky, and arguably unfair. And well, there's no room. You can find the room. You can find the room by moving competitions back earlier in the year if you need to finish the inter-county by the end of July. And the GAA are getting hammered, and I've been critical about the paywall thing. This is an ideal way for them to get money into the association by having replays that people are anticipatory about and having another day out. I just feel Armagh putting everything into it, and a lot of people are just going, well, hard luck. They didn't have the adventure to win the game, but it's just a cruel way to go out.
Look, I don't think it was unlucky or unfair personally. This phrase, penalties, should there a lottery? I'm not saying that the penalties, whether you win them or not, is. I just think the concept of having penalties in GAA rather than a replay is a bit unfair. But I feel like Armagh won or lost 3 penalty shootouts in 12 months. But is there something to be said for Armagh on that? So I don't know how.
Absolutely, in the context of. They only got what they deserved because they didn't win it in the 90 minutes. Yes, but in the general sense, do I think penalties are the right thing for the Gaelic Athletic Association? I don't.
There was a little bit of genius. I felt,
and for the last 30, 40 years, we've had brilliant. I never remember GAA being broken for having replays. 1991 was the thing that ignited the GAA in the wake of Italian 90 with Dublin Meath. It was one of the best things ever happened to the association. I never heard from anybody that the GAA was broken because of replays.
I feel like I know a lot of neutrals enjoy the penalty shootouts, obviously, because they're mental and anything could happen. And look, there was 17 out of 20 penalties I think scored in that shootout between Armagh and Monaghan. It was crazy, the quality level of the penalties. I think there's a sense of, there's a little bit of genius in how managers deal with penalties as a concept. Like Vinnie Corey was asked after the game, did you practice penalties? And he said, we didn't practice penalties whatsoever, because I felt like on a Friday night, if we practice penalties
and you're in your head
and some player hit a post or missed, you'll be thinking about that on the Saturday. So there's a little bit of genius in not practicing penalties sometimes. We knew our penalty takers, we knew who the 5 would be, we wanted them all on the pitch at the very end.
It's also Conor McManus's penalties, just
two top corners.
That's how you take a penalty.
I just don't know if it's the outcome.
I'd agree with you, JD.
I'd prefer imagine the All-Ireland final is decided by penalties, because we have to stop the season now because of the club game.
Maybe for finals you could do a replay.
Well, like the Dublin Kerry replay in 2019 was the drawn game was incredible, the replay was incredible, the anticipation of the replay was incredible, and I just do feel that for the sake of another game.
So some people are saying in the comments, DS says Armagh had plenty of chances to win those games in normal and extra time, no bravery to go for it. Paul Markey, Armagh the same chance as those who beat them. Wake up lads, your argument is void. There is that as well.
But it's not really about whether Armagh, it's just about our penalties are a fair way to decide an amateur sport like Gaelic games. I'm not so sure.
It's more the foul on McManus as well. There was no, you're with all due respect, Conor McManus is 36, is he, whatever, you just marshal him. It was a needless foul.
Smart by McManus because he made the run that he knew there's a chance I'll be fouled here.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's, you just don't. He's probably 8 out of 10 likely to score that free, maybe 9.
Then in the end, the argument is if Grugan lets McManus past him and he scores from play, the argument is why didn't he
pass him? They'll just marshal him at that stage of the game,
I do feel though, when you look at Armagh, Monaghan and Derry Cork, they're going to have to lift it like significantly, Derry and Monaghan, to get anywhere near.
It looks impossible.
Kerry in Dublin.
Yeah, it looks impossible.
And the way Kerry in Dublin, like the Clifford pass, for example, Diarmuid O'Connor display, we already touched upon James McCarthy, and it's important for Colin Baskell, who's not a new kid in the block, but he's obviously been around a while. For somebody new in Dessie Farrell's unit to be a man that isn't one of the old guard, as it were, too. But if Dublin and Kerry play the way they did this weekend in the final, it will be an incredible final.
It will be amazing. The only argument I can make for Monaghan in the semi-final, and it's going to be a tough task, and Dublin rightly will be massive favourites, but Monaghan and Dublin, anytime they've met, certainly in league football, when Dublin still had strong teams out, Monaghan have always had a decent record against them, even in Croke Park and in Clonus as well. I think Monaghan will have preferred to play against Dublin rather than Kerry from a style perspective, possibly. And that Dublin forward line, Monaghan's defence is really, like, the man markers and the swarm of bees that come around forwards when they have the ball. Like, Monaghan are very good defensively, so the Monaghan defenders and the Dublin forwards will be so familiar with each other. From 10 years in Division 1, they've played against each other so often, so it will be fascinating. But Monaghan do have to stay in the game for 50-55 minutes.
Well, that's it. Will they be there with 10 minutes to go?
Yeah,
that's the question.
You can see the concession of a goal then as well is such a killer in any narrative like that. Once you're almost mentally gone after that.
But also you got to give Dublin credit, and I didn't watch the Kerry game because I didn't want to spend half my money watching it on the state broadcaster after the week they had. I didn't feel it was probably the right week to be doing it, but the direct play of Dublin. Eamon Sweeney writes really well about this in the Irish Independent today, that we, to cherish the way Dublin played the game. That was a really enjoyable game, the Dublin Mayo game. First half really enjoyable. Now I know Dublin kind of sprinted away in the second half, but the Derry Cork game was a tough watch.
Yeah,
it was a tough watch, and that's obviously the Derry style of play. And if it's effective, and if they win the All Ireland, then they'll be saying, well, so what? But when I was growing up, my uncle was from Kerry, and they had the Golden Years video, the Kerry video from 1975 to 86, and I always have felt that Kerry have always played the game the way the game should be played, and I do feel that Dublin played the way the game should be played. And I think if you did have a Kerry Dublin final, they wouldn't be getting involved in elaborate tactics. It would be, Dublin pressed high yesterday. It would be a classic. It would be like 2019 again.
Yeah, the problem with that narrative is that then one of the teams has to win. And if you see the way Kerry defended this weekend, JD, it was phenomenal. Like, I hope I'm not overstating this. Like, it was, I've massive sympathy for Tyrone, because they hit all these, and this is the problem Derry are going to have. Derry are going to be going around the circles as they do, and they're going to meet this wall and this amazingly intense press. And then once you lose the ball, you're in serious trouble because of the talent they have in attack. I'd be amazed if it weren't a Kerry Dublin final, but even if it is that, I think neutral will still be like, this is going to be one of the great finals.
Yeah,
and hopefully a restoration of Gaelic football in the minds of a lot of people who've probably lost interest.
Yeah, I think Derry and Monaghan will be the big bad wolves if they somehow manage to spoil that.
I still hope Monaghan win for
imagine Monaghan being an All-Ireland final. Was it 1930? Was it
1930? Yeah, I think Kerry in 1930 was the only time they've ever been in a final.
So the whole place would lose their minds. It'd be amazing.
It's already starting to lose the minds, John. I mean,
well, you lost your mind a long time ago.
I did, to be fair, and so that's why I had to go and get some R&R at the weekend and get the spa and the champagne and all the rest. Before we let you go, John, briefly, the Aidan O'Brien at the Irish Derby in the Curragh, 100th European Classic win,
like 49 at the Curragh, 42 in England, and 9 in continental Europe. Incredible, like one of our greatest ever sports people, and to be able to consistently delivered under the pressure of the fact that all the breeding and everything and Coolmore, to be able to deliver under pressure. It wasn't the most flashy win by Auguste Rodin, but to win 2 derbies, Galileo's obviously gone as a sire. All roads lead to the Arc, and I know you're down there, Johnny, but
yeah, it was very anticlimactic. That was the unfortunate thing about it. It was just like, you've the Epsom also and Spreewell and White Birch both flopping. You've a fatality in the race, and then you've the winner not really impressive, beating a long shot stablemate. So it just wasn't a race that I didn't feel much of a. And the one thing about the Curragh, like I enjoyed the Curragh, but the atmosphere is still very flat there. It's strange.
10 or 11,000 there.
It was like the crowd was disappointing, and I enjoyed the day and all that. And I got a complimentary ticket. I'll be honest, and I always love going to the Derby, but there was no very little buzz in the place, like really really little buzz. And the Curragh is going to have to work on that, and it's not easy, but
it can be done though. Leopardstown puts 10 of have done it.
Oh, like, it means the student meetings are like a massive stag party. Like, and I'm not saying we need that, but you need a bit more life for a classic where, you know, the crowd is hardly making any sort of a noise. Like, and you know, the Curragh I thought there were lots of positives from the day, but the crowd was down, and you know, probably need a bit more noise. However they're going to get that,
and you can't bring it on your own.
I can't bring it on my own. No, and you know, we've a 1-4-11 winner of the derby, whatever. But they just need to work a little bit on the atmosphere, I think.
Yeah, so it was a good performance. Obviously, a length and a half.
Good, but not great. Like he wasn't. He didn't enhance his stud value at that performance.
Yeah, maybe he's one of those horses never going to do that. You know,
Aidan said he needs to kind of like get going into a gear where he can't just like get to the front 3 furlongs out and bolt up. Like, he needs to get going off a pace, and I'd say he's probably right about that, but I think he's a better horse than he showed yesterday.
Yeah, first horse August Rodan since Harzand in 2016 to follow up Epsom with the Curragh. John, any other bets happening this morning?
Well, I mean, I don't know if you saw the Ashes, the run out of Johnny Bairstow, which was hugely controversial because England felt that they didn't act Australia in the spirit of the law. They acted in the letter, and it's probably like it's maybe on the edge of gamesmanship versus, you know, it's in the rules. It's fine, and he did go out of it, and he did throw the ball before Bairstow went out of his ground. I just found the fascinating thing was it was the final day at Lord's. People were able to go in for £25 for the biggest establishment venues in the whole of the UK, but the players have to go through the members' room to get to their dressing rooms. So they showed footage of
that was bizarre
of the England players being cheered by the Lords members, and then the Australians coming in and being booed. Imagine like a football team having to go through fans to get back to their changing rooms. It was an incredible piece of television. So it was, and Ben Stokes was smashing the ball around like it was a one-day game. So it was great TV. I mean, sometimes I don't think you don't have to love cricket to find these kind of moments of drama really just compelling. That was one of the highlights of the weekend, I have to say.
Yeah, absolutely. John, great.
All right, lads.
Thanks for popping.